Ready, Dennis? Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Future Leaders Program's closing ceremony and induction ceremony. Before we start, I'd just like to recognize the presence of some special guests. I see the President of the Senate, Senator Joan Dillis Wright, Senator Nicholas Kemp. I see Colonel Minister David Birch, Minister Zane De Silva, and MP Dennis Lister III. I also see MP Christopher Famous. Thank you all for joining us. As you're all aware, for the past 3 weeks, 23 future leaders have been embarking on a life-changing and challenging experience. A lot of them didn't want to do it when they first started. I'm sure as parents you know. But we can safely say at the end of the 3 weeks, a lot of them don't want to leave. And so today, as part of their closing ceremony, instead of giving them a test, the test is now, they're going to try and do in 30 minutes what they've done in the past 3 weeks. They're going to try and cover it from subject to subject. They covered 7 different units ranging from service to how to take action and the power to make a difference. The curriculum encompasses dozens of hours of community service and academic study. It has 3 components, including academic material and class discussions, mentorship, as well as community service. It's not about me, so I'll leave it to these guys. Without further ado, I present to you the future leaders.
Service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth. Shirley Chisholm. My name is Nathan Farbit.
My name is Ria Russell.
My name is Ronia Jones.
And my name is Millie Robinson.
Our group focused on foundations of service and community. At the start of the program, we read an article on the reasons why people serve, written by Adam Davis. Here are some reasons why Adam Davis suggests people serve.
Firstly, we are God's children. They believe that we are all equal and should love and take care of each other. We prosper and suffer together. Here are some examples. Homeless feeding, soup runs, thrift shop. Secondly, we share the earth. We are all in this together. We suffer as one and thrive as one. This world is a whole community. Thirdly, we find ourselves doing it. We may find a purpose in our lives instead of just going through the motions of life. We find inner peace that is vital to have in today's world. Thirdly, we may win praise. People have a need to be loved. It gives them a form of purpose or a motive. And lastly, I am ashamed. People are ashamed of the lives they live or used to live. They may feel like serving others will help them get back on good terms with God or other people. This is also another motive.
So, Ronia, why do you serve?
Serving is important for your conscience to know that you are lending a hand to the next person that can't. Serve because in your heart you know you want to make the next person's life a little better.
Well, why don't we talk about service? Is it selfish?
Every part of service in some way is selfish. There is no way to serve others without serving yourself, and maybe that's why we don't like to talk about it. We don't want to turn these selfless acts into the truly selfish things that they are. There is no way to turn service into a fully selfless act. However, we must continue to serve whenever we can.
What is a community? A community is a group of people living in the same place or people joined together by race, beliefs, ideas, and characteristics.
On day 2, we went into Hamilton and we talked to a lot of the residents in Hamilton and asked them a couple of questions. Ronia and I would like to ask you 2 of those questions, and we would like a volunteer from the crowd to answer those questions.
The first question is, what do you like most about the community? Would anyone like to answer? Just bring it to you, Mama.
So she chooses her mama. What do I like most about Bermuda? I think I like the fact that we are a close-knit community. and Bermudians help each other in a time of need.
And what are you worried about in this community, and what would you change? Anybody? Don't be scared. Okay.
I'm worried about the cost of living, and I would change the living wage.
We have many of these similar answers as we went out in the community on day 2. So, it's very good that you guys have the same opinions.
So, how did you feel when you went out into the community?
Honestly, I felt a lot of pressure from the residents and stuff because they depend on us to fix all the mistakes that are being made in society. So I feel a lot of pressure as a youth to grow up and have to fix those problems. But I also felt really, really good because so many of them were open to sharing and none of them were closed, and they were very open books to us. So I was really grateful for that.
On the first day, we also had a guest speaker named Aaron Hill. Growing up, Aaron Hill had no father figure. This made many things very hard for him. But today, he sees this as an advantage with a disadvantage. This made him more self-sufficient and determined to be his own man. Today, he is studying law and is the founder of a youth group named Generation Next. This is his way of giving back and serving the next generation. One main quote he told us was that your age isn't a barrier to anything you want to achieve.
So I would like to leave you with this. 2 hours of discomfort for you may help someone's whole life of being uncomfortable. Thank you. I would like to welcome Unit 2, Poverty, Crime, and Inequality.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Martin Luther King. Good evening, all. My name is Najee Hippolyte.
My name is Austin Dowling.
My name's Alea Hayward.
My name is Chloe Morden.
My name is Ukiah Hall.
And our group did Unit 2, Poverty, Crime, and Inequality. Unit 2 touches on the different issues in regards to poverty, crime, and inequality. In Bermuda, the majority of poverty is relative, people living in conditions lower than an acceptable level. In 2007, 11.7% of homes were belonging to the low-income cutoff. 21% single adult households fell below the cutoff. 50% of the black female-headed households with kids were living below or at the poverty line. What does all this mean? That the majority of society cannot afford rent and health care, which means that there are families on low income that are falling into a vicious cycle of debt and poverty. Why is this? There are a number of reasons individuals fall into circumstances that lead into poverty, such as failure to complete education, unplanned pregnancies into unstable homes, the effects of alcohol and drug abuse, which is a large problem here because, Bermudians love to drink, the impact of multi-generational trauma, and lastly, a father who contributes little or no money towards the child's maintenance.
In Bermuda, poverty can look many different ways. People can have the latest, most fashionable items. They can even be employed while still being impoverished. Additionally, in Bermuda, there is a disparity in terms of income. Black Bermudians, equally as accomplished as white Bermudians, earn significantly less in comparison. Also, non-Bermudians earn more than Bermudians. This is an income gap that continues to grow by the year.
According to the Population and Housing Census Report for 2016, shocking statistics between black and white workers surfaced. Between the period of 2010 to 2016, black workers had an average 13% decline, while their white counterparts had a 1% increase. Black Bermudians felt the burn of the income decline. Their average income had declined while inflation rose by 12%. Black unemployment rates remained at 9%, while unemployment fell for their white counterparts by 2%. Evidently, race plays a large role in employment and income gaps.
We read an article called On the Wall or On the Margins by Ronald Mincy. If Bermudians discuss young black men, they view them as idle. Idleness is defined as a person's condition when they are neither in the labor force nor enrolled in school by labor economists. Only 3% of young black Bermudian men are idle, although Bermudians have to be more concerned about the 11% of young black men that are able and looking for employment and are unable to find a job for them.
Nelson Mandela once said that as long as poverty, injustice, and inequality persist in our world, none of us can truly rest. And with this, I feel almost as if it suggests the need for change. In the introduction to Unit 2, Cordell Riley, a guest speaker, delivered a valid statement that racial promotion and equity should be dismantled in the idea that oppresses one's state of mind. Such inequality, in which is used to act upon by segregation, can cause an unstable mindset in which one views themselves as lesser than any other, and is shamed by characteristics that should be rather cherished than discriminated by racism. By ending the moral ideas of racism and equity leaves generations of unjust superiority just in those generations, as we, the people, are all equal.
During this topic, we went out in groups to the Salvation Army, where I got to see where all the donations go. What was good is the amount of donations that are given and that continue to be given. However, unfortunately, there aren't enough volunteers to sort through the clothes and other items, and as a result, they end up in the trash. In terms of people who needed the help, they were mostly single mothers and women with babies, and the races were mixed. Overall, this experience was very eye-opening as we got to see poverty firsthand.
This is my personal journal reflection. Poverty, crime, and inequality resides not just in Bermuda, but everywhere in the world. Crime wouldn't exist without poverty, and poverty wouldn't exist without inequality. So what does poverty look like, and how do people fall into poverty? For one, poverty has no form. You could have freshly done nails, box braids, and an iPhone X, but you don't know how they got those luxuries. Poverty is when a person has less than standard income and/or resources. Based on the article, Reducing the Impact of Poverty in Bermuda, all the households that fell below the threshold are advised as low-income households. This threshold was determined as 41,132 in 2007, and 13% or 3,680 households fell beneath the standard or threshold. Crime has impacted society heavily. Bermuda has violence in our streets constantly. Every once in a while, something pops up on the news and in the newspaper of something happening. Violence is depriving our children of the father. This article from the Royal Gazette by Owen Johnston. Barnes stated, before the fatal stabbing of Raymond Butterfield, Miss G. Spence said over 50 children, at least 29 girls and 26 boys, had been left with no father, victims of violent crimes. Inequality, the unbalanced society we have today, discriminates against other races, ethnicities, colorism, etc. White supremacists of the past created inequality between white, black, and other races in fear. They took advantage of the Africans who fled from war to America.
Thank you for listening to our recap of Unit 2, Poverty, Crime, and Equality. We hope you've learned something just as we have. The next group that will present is Unit 3, Privilege and Identity.
Good evening. With great power comes great responsibility. Voltaire. My name is Malay Robinson.
My name is Aisha Forbes.
My name is Giannis Roberts.
My name is Johnny Richardson.
And as you heard before, we are Unit 3, Identity and Privilege.
What is privilege? The unearned social, political, economic, and psychological benefits of membership in a group that has institutional and structural power. Examples: white privilege, heterosexual privilege, and able-bodied privilege. What are social groups? A group of people who share a range of physical, cultural, or social characteristics within one of the social identity categories. Examples: sex, gender, age, class, religion, sexual orientation, physical and psychological ability, race.
What is oppression? A system or practice that maintains advantage and disadvantage based on social group memberships and operates intentionally and unintentionally on individual, institutional, and cultural levels. On an individual level, it means personal attitudes and actions, so more like a one-on-one situation. Institutional are more like policies, laws, rules, norms, and customs enacted by organizations like the government. Societal and cultural level means social norms that reflect and reinforce the belief that one social group is higher than another.
What does it mean to have privilege? Having privilege is a special advantage that everyone may not enjoy. Having certain privileges does not benefit everyone. For example, white privilege. This privilege benefits white persons over non-white people if they are under the same social, political, and economic circumstances.
So this is the chart for the cycle of oppression and socialization. It starts when you're first born into society and things are first set for you. And then there's your first socialization, where there are expectations, stereotypes, norms, and habits that you're expected to abide by and follow. And then there's institutional and cultural. This is where schools, media, and governments continue to set these norms and spread them. And then there's internalized and enforced. This is where the dominant groups that have first established these norms continue to discriminate and discourage those who don't fit them. And this can result in a separation in social and economical power between social groups, and can sometimes result in hostility from the dominant groups. And then there's action taken by the dominant groups to prevent change, because change could make a shift in power for those that are dominant. And as the cycle continues, at the center of it all, those that are oppressed can feel hurt, fearful, or angered.
Can I have a volunteer from the crowd, please? Yeah, so you can stand right there for me. Okay, so this is the matrix of oppression, but we changed it to the matrix of power. We're going to ask you a couple of questions, and we're going to answer based off of your questions. What is your race? What do you identify? Oh, I'm sorry, Zaisha, go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to put you in the category either if you're an agent or a target. An agent group has the power to define what is normal or accepted. A target group is the group that must conform or is out of the societal norm.
Okay, so what race do you identify by? Do you think that that's an agent group or a target group in society? As we study, we realize, sorry, you can put a tag there. As we study, we realize that in our society, black people, like based off of history, didn't really make the societal norms and rules. So that's why we are labeled as the target group, while whites and others would be labeled as the agent group in our society. What sex? As we study, we realize that females are normally under because males are the ones that created all the rules and things, and we feel like we're under because we have to conform to the different rules that were placed. And that's the same with gender. Your sexual orientation. Okay. Well, in our in our society, heterosexualism is definitely an aging group because they kind of set the standard and they're quote unquote normal, and we kind of push under lesbians and gays into the target group in our society. So, agent. Class. This is economically. Do you consider yourself middle, high, or low class? So middle is actually in between both. They're kind of good and they're kind of bad. They're just in the middle really because there are some good things about it and there's some bad things about it. So you can put your tick right on the line. Your ability. Are you able-bodied completely? Okay. So able-bodied is definitely an agent in our society because if you have any physical disabilities, many times you find it really hard to get into places like, say, right now we have stairs. I mean, we have an elevator. Exclude the elevator. You wouldn't be able to go where we are right now because if you're in a wheelchair, how can you do that? And many places and buildings kind of negate that, and we disregard the fact that people, not all people, can walk up and down stairs. Religion. Do you think that's a target or an agent group in our society? Okay. You're fine. Oh, sorry, yeah. She says she's a Muslim. In our society, in Bermuda especially, Christians are definitely an agent group because they have a lot of power and they create the societal norms. It's very normal for everyone to be Christian. That's why I wasn't expecting Muslim. So she can put the tick in religion. And age. Okay, that's more like a adult. So that's adult, which is definitely an agent in our case because adults create all the rules. Definitely, humans. Young people don't really have as much as a say as we want, and adults definitely make all the decisions. So that's why adults will be the agent, and young adults and young people will be the target group. Thank you.
So we went to drug court and we met with Senior Magistrate Warren Wolf. He introduced us to a person. We can't say his name. He introduced us and like how he changed his life. He told us that when he grew up, he had no father, and so he had to look to older men in his community to look up to. When some of the people that he looked up to put him into a gang, so that gang led him to selling drugs at school and all that stuff, and he got in trouble a lot of the time. In his gang, he said that he had to show no weakness or he would have consequences if he does. When he said that he does some things that he regrets, but he does some things that he doesn't. And what he told us at the end, that the only people that he had to stick with is his mother and his grandparents. And also he said that if he had to think about what he wanted to do, because he kept on going into jail and then came back out, and he had to think about what he wants to do so he don't have to do that no more, so he can have a better life and stay with his family.
To add on to the drug court experience in relation to social groups, we found that majority of the individuals were Black Bermudian males, mainly in the lower class, age gap the early 20s to late 70s. Lots of them had mental illness and physical illnesses.
On the first day of learning about identity and privilege, we did an activity called Privilege Walk. Junior acts as a series of 40 questions that we either had to step forward or backward. The questions identify privileges and disadvantages within ourselves. At the end, you could see how advantaged or disadvantaged you were compared to everyone else. So if you were at the front, you were more advantaged, and if you were at the back, then you were not as advantaged. This is my personal journal of the privilege walk. Keep in mind that the things I'm expressing are hard and personal to me. Even though it is hard, I must share it because many things throughout this program we examined were not easy to go through. I'm going to talk about one of the questions that were asked, and it was basically if you are scared in society to experience sexual harassment. On too many occasions, we as women experience this. I know the routine of walking home in the dark and having to call my mom while I walk, telling her my surroundings so that if anything happened to me, she would know where I am. Even at 16 years old, I'm forcing my mom to wait with me at the bus stop until it came because I feel unsafe. It was hard addressing that in the wall. Lastly, being at the back of the group made me feel really weird. I felt less than most people, but I know that with everything I go through in life, I'm able to rise above and conquer this world. And I will leave you with this. 10% of life is what happened to us. 90% is how we react to it. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have Unit 4, Leadership and Self-Determination.
I fear that when people say we need leaders, what they are actually saying is that we need someone to tell us what to think, to tell us what to do, to die for our sins. The principal one of which is in action. We've had a lot of leaders. We've had a lot of martyrs. Let's try looking in the mirror and see if we can find those very leaders that we say we are so in need of. Roniko Rashidi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be presenting to you Unit 4, Leadership and Determination. My name is Vincent Darrow.
My name is Ryan Fleming.
My name is Kyrie Simmons.
And my name is Moria Bridgewater.
A leader is anyone who wants to work with others to make a difference. During the academic part of the unit, we learned of several Bermudian icons who were and are leaders. These leaders are people like Dr. Barbara Bowl, Dr. E.F. Gordon, Kingsley Tweed, the Black Beret Cadre, Comrade Lynch, Paula Camaraka Fago, Buck Burrows, and Erskine Durant. These people all had a common characteristics. The characteristics were they speak up, they give you hope, they're inspirational, they have self-determination, they're outspoken, they have humility, they're able to back up what they say, they're respectful, they have good communication skills, they're courageous, they're warriors, they take initiative, they're a servant of the people, and our way of being a servant to the people as the future leaders was we went out to the Salvation Army and different charities and we helped out. And leaders also make decisions quickly, they're resilient, and they have and they're people who want to make a difference.
There are 5 types of leaders: qualified leaders, captured leaders, defaulted leaders, identified leaders, and merited leaders. Qualified leaders take the necessary steps to obtain that said position. Captured leaders campaign for positions such as a president or mayor. Defaulted leaders become leaders simply because others are unwilling to lead. Identified leaders are people who show qualities of leadership or being a leader. Merited leaders get to be leaders through fateful happenings.
During this unit, we discussed the logical fallacies and cognitive biases that tend to clog up things in our mind. Some of these biases and fallacies are the confirmation bias, which is when you favor things that confirm your belief, and the in-group bias, which is when you unfairly favor those who belong to your group. Thinking and getting away from logical fallacies and cognitive biases is a form of self-determination.
In this unit, we also discussed self-determination, the process by which a person controls their own life. We had a presenter come in, Mr. Eugene Johnson, and he had told us about how we have a European way of thinking and how we as people aren't self-determining. Through future leaders, I have become more self-determining in my group work skills, presentation skills, and critical analysis skills. We will now have Vincent read his journal entry on leadership.
While studying leadership, I felt this was an important part of the program, as we are the future leaders, so we must know how to demonstrate leadership. I was pleased that we brought up Bermudians, because they're the ones who shape the place we live in now, and they're often not brought up and recognized in discussions about leadership. We often just call out names such as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, but I think it's important to recognize those who shaped our community into what it is today. Thank you. You will now learn about Unit 5, Social Change and Entrepreneurship.
Go to the people.
Love them. Learn from them.
Love them.
Serve them. Plan with them.
Start with what they know.
Build with what they have. And with the best leaders,
When the work is done,
the task accomplished, the people will say, by Lao Tzu. Good evening, my name is Vashti Smith.
Good evening, my name is Shazaria Francis Brown.
My name is Madison Thompson.
and I'm Sakai Tatum.
We will be covering Unit 5, Social Change and Entrepreneurship. This quote highlights a significant leadership characteristic, suggesting that effective leaders empower others to learn and build on skills that support their growth, subsequently molding them into powerful, innovative leaders. In the beginning of the unit of Social Change and Entrepreneurship, we discussed social activism and finding ways to positively fight for change in our community to end injustice. Social activism focuses on an issue affecting society in hopes of building strong communities to encourage economic, social, and psychological health. Social activists participate in activities like fundraising or organizing groups to advocate for an important cause. For example, we learned about Dr. Barbara Ball, who advocated for the rights of Bermuda's working class.
Interrupting the cycle of oppression in the role of allies as agents of change. What is an ally? An ally is a member of a dominant group in our society who works to break any form of oppression. Allied behavior means taking responsibility for changes we know are needed in our society. Allied behavior is intentional, consistent activity that changes patterns of oppression and makes privileged things that are invisible visible, making a difference. The term oppression is used to describe the combination of prejudice, access to social, political, economical power on the part of a dominant group. Hence, we say that sexism is a system of disadvantage based on gender, and so on. Each form of oppression has a dominant group.
Another way we can interrupt the cycle of oppression is by reducing violence. The persistent inequity between dominant and targeted groups is a major source of violence in our society today. Violence associated with each form of systemic oppression noticeably drops when allies rise up against the perpetuation of these inequities. Groups that are oppressed carry significant authority when confronting perpetrators of violence. For example, heterosexuals standing up and acting against gay bashing. Thank you.
At the end of this unit, we talked about the social change wheel. The wheel demonstrates strategies that contribute to social change. Some of these strategies are advocacy, charitable volunteering, community building, community organizing, informal associations, mutual aid, social entrepreneurship. An example of charitable volunteering is when we went to Salvation Army thrift store and helped organize the store so that the customers could come in.
In conclusion, I say we strive each day to be our strongest selves, transforming the world one person at a time, one family at a time, and one community at a time. May we move forward with pride and as allies, interrupting the cycle of oppression and modeling a new way of behaving and believing. Thank you.
Please welcome our next and final unit, Unit 6, The Power to Make a Difference.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world, because indeed it is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. Welcome to Unit 6. My name is Yaiwan Darrow.
My name is Kanye Reyna Simmons.
My name is Maya Farber-Jacobs.
In the previous unit, we explored what it means to be an activist. We explored the power of the attributes of an activist, such as their ability to unite people about a cause and to be instrumental in bringing change. However, what is the benefit of having all of these traits if they cannot be implemented to ensure sustainable and long-lasting change? For the involved parties, this is where our unit comes into play. Our unit explores philanthropy in its different manifestations, and how, when compared to each other, the four traditions of philanthropy achieve sustainable futures for the design parties.
Philanthropy can be described as the desire to promote the welfare of others. Philanthropy as relief. It aims to alleviate the repercussions of others' faces due to the disadvantaged circumstances. Philanthropy as improvement, to teach someone a skill instead of giving something to them. Example, food. Teach a person how to cook, and they will never go hungry. Philanthropy as social reform, which acts as a form of reparation by private individuals and firms. The problem is that over time that it may lead to arrogance on their behalf.
This past Wednesday, we had the privilege of going to the Cabinet Office and asking the Premier and two of his ministers pressing questions that we felt were very important. We asked questions about the environment, education, and the economy, and how those all affect us. What we gathered from this is a bigger picture, because the action itself was philanthropic. You see, our questioning presented our desire as youth to promote the welfare for us as a people of Bermuda.
During this unit, our mentors had done an excellent job of teaching us the different objectives that came underneath our title. I enjoyed this topic very much because as a young child, I was able to understand that as children, we can make major changes to the world and our community. This was the best experience I could ever have, and having amazing teachers made this experience even more memorable.
Our journal entry. From July 18th to the 19th, our class was able to discuss and analyze the real meaning of our heading, the power to make a difference. As a group, we got to learn the behind-the-scenes process of how to change our community for the better. As young Bermudian students, our minds were taught about the varieties of philanthropy, the justice between them, and the factual information behind it. Not only did we get to learn about this topic, but we were also taught that charity is not a substitute for justice. Justice is something many of us would like to achieve in order to gain an almost perfect world. But the truth is, there can never be a perfect world. If society could be perfect, there would be no reason for charity or famine, wars, or more. Unfortunately, that is not the case. If someone was to encounter a situation where justice needed to be established, this person would not jump in because they believe that they have already served justice by participating in charity.
Unit 7, Taking Action. Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action can change the world. Joe A. Baker.
Previously, in Unit 6, we looked at philanthropy and how we can use methods of philanthropy to make the difference that we want to make. But for some reason, many of us don't do so. And why? I mean, we have all the skills. Maybe it's because we don't feel that people will support us if we go about the effort to do so. Maybe it's because we feel deep down that there may be some flaw in our logic, and that's why we don't want to put it out to the world. In Unit 7, we explored this among why we have to have self-determination to make change for the future.
In our last unit, our mentors exceeded our expectations. And as we closed out our last chapter, we came to the conclusion of leadership. Junior Ryan and Ms. Key Holmes taught us key information throughout these past few weeks. And in Unit 7, we learned about taking action.
Journal entry for the last day. We learned so much over this past 3 weeks, and we've experienced so many different points of view. Personally, I felt most moved by the fact that when we looked at statistics, they show Bermuda as a place where everything is sunny and bright and the sun always shines. But in reality, there are people who are still starving every night. And that made me realize that the statistics can sometimes be misleading. And that is why we have to ask questions that go beyond what the statistics show. Ask about the Gini index and things that show the distribution of income in the society. And another thing that I took out of this whole program over this 3 weeks is that it is our job as the youth to voice our opinions. I mean, in 10 years, 20 years, we will be on this earth and looking back at what we could have done, what we could have said. And we'd be wondering if we're proud or not proud to pass on the world that we lived to our next generation.
The 10 thought traps. What is thought traps? Thought traps, and I quote, certain types of patterns of thoughts that tend to trap us in anxiety. From day one, we have a thought trap. Maybe we don't remember it, but even as a baby, we cry because we are being taken out of our mother's womb, and we are wondering how to get back in. In class, we had learned about these 10 thought traps, which are examples that people use as an excuse to not get involved in our community. Number 1, that's just the way the world is. Number 2, it's not my responsibility. Number 3, one person can't make a difference. Number 4, I can't make enough of a difference to matter. Number 5, this seems totally overwhelming. Number 6, I don't have the time or energy. Number 7, I'm not a saint. Number 8, I do not know enough about the issues. Number 9, I don't know where to begin. And number 10, I am not an activist. A whole purpose of a trap is to keep us away from achieving something or keeping us still. As children, parents tell us that we should be seen and not heard. To us, that is our trap. But how can we get out of it? Because we are so little, many adults believe that we are not as intelligent as they are or as brave as they are. But you don't have to be an adult to obtain these characteristics. We have so much to offer, but the volume of our voices are put on mute because the adults of the world are scared of what we have to say. It is time to listen to us. We are the young activists of this world, and we will be heard. As Thomas Sankara once said, we must dare to invent the future. Thank you.
Wasn't that excellent? Let's give them another round of applause. So what you've just seen is an excellent attempt by our 23 future leaders to summarize in just about 30 minutes some of the highlights of what they covered over the past 3 weeks. These past 3 weeks included 72 academic hours and 18 community service hours. And they were able to somehow give an excellent synopsis of all of that in the last couple of minutes. So let's give them one more round of applause. The whole crux of the Future Leaders program is to combine academics, mentorship, and community service in order to empower the next generation of leaders. An important part of that is introducing them with community figures and leaders in the community and mentors that we have who can help pass on their information as well as their inspiration to this group of future leaders. So as you've seen, we've had a number of people who came in and made this program great, who I'll mention later. But our last piece is our keynote speaker today, Mr. Syrie Bean. Syrie Bean took a path that many didn't take, and he has been very successful at it. And those are the types of people that we want to introduce to our future leaders. Syrie Bean graduated from the Barclay Institute, and he is the founder of Pay a Kid, which is an initiative which brings opportunities to young people in order to help prevent antisocial behavior. Syrie Bean is going to give our keynote speech today, and he's going to have a message for all of you 23 future leaders. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Syrie Bean to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today, all right? Good, good. I want to start off by saying, one, I know for a fact it's definitely not easy to get up here and talk in front of a bunch of unfamiliar faces, or rather it be familiar faces. So with that being said, please give the future leaders an extremely loud round of applause. Amazing, amazing. Now with that being said, please ease me up a bit, all right? Appreciate that, all right? Now I'm gonna just get in before I, talk about myself or anything like that, into a little story. I like to tell some stories. I'm not really a big old speech guy. You guys can hear me in the back? Good? All right, cool. So, let's take it back to around 2008-ish. A younger me, Iron Man just came out, I think. So yeah, I was around like 8, 9, 9-ish, around 9-ish. So I said to myself, you know what I'm gonna do? This is when I was living on Darrow's Island with my family. I said, you know what, Pop? I just saw Iron Man, I'm gonna create my own hovercraft. I said, hovercraft? He was like, all right, sir, you do what you gotta do. So I went outside, I said, all right, Christopher, that's my younger brother. He's 2 years younger than me. I said, you have no choice, but you're gonna help me come outside and start building this hovercraft. So what we did, we said, day and night, this is summertime on Darrow's Island, we have absolutely nothing else to do. So we're bang, I said, give me duct tape, a little bit more duct tape, some cardboard boxes. And I say, you know what, my mama doesn't use this fan, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take that fan, and I'm gonna strap it. So we started putting together what we deemed to be this big old great hovercraft, all right? So my daddy kept on coming outside saying, all right, yeah, you guys, you're looking pretty sharp. I said, yeah, you know what, Pup? We're going to allow you to save gas as well, so you don't have to come from the island to go to the mainland as well, so we can just fly the hovercraft over. He said, whoa, great. That sounds like a plan. I said, yeah, and even when we get into town, we can park it right on top of KFC and go grab ourselves a nice little two-piece and come back and avoid traffic. He said, wow, you guys are great. All right. So I want to say a couple weeks go by. We're still in the yard doing this hovercraft, and I throw my hands up in the air. I say, you know what, Pop, I got to tell you something. I got to be honest. I don't think this is going to work. He said, really? What? Why do you think this is not going to work? What happened? I said, Pop, with a hovercraft this size and with the fan attached to the back, we do not have a long enough extension cord to get to town. Now, I share that story because that was a big part of molding who I am today. Not once did my parents ever come out and say, Sari, what you're going to do is not going to work. They never stopped me from dreaming and believing in myself. They allowed me to make those mistakes, and, well, I can at least tell you to this day I know how not to make a hovercraft. All right? So, with all that being said, is what I would like to say to you guys. Never, ever allow negative thoughts verbalized by individuals mold and construct your reality. I'm going to say it one more time. Never let negative thoughts verbalized by individuals mold and construct your reality. All right? 3 years back, let's take it 3 years back. I'm in this exact building as a student. Okay, I'm 21 now, all right? I know I look old and shabby, but I'm only 21, all right? So, I was having a conversation with a teacher, and she said to me, you know what, Sari? With your mentality, if you keep this up, you're not going to go very far. I was like, okay, wow, that struck pretty hard. Now, a story that a lot of you guys may not know about me is I did graduate from the Berkeley Institute. I love this school, yes. But I was not allowed to partake in my actual leaving ceremony due to the simple fact of the accumulated grades from years of S1 due to S4. So I messed up in my S1 years, and because of that, I was not allowed to actually walk on the stage during graduation. But I was able to come pick up my diploma and everything like that, all that good stuff. But let's fast track 3 years now forward to this very day. I've been around the world. This is not to be cocky or facetious or anything of that nature, just to show you that everything is achievable if you think about it. So I've traveled halfway around the world for business conferences, up in Turkey, expenses paid for, start up a business, and over the past 3 years, we've employed hundreds of students to get them out of antisocial behavior, gang activity, and crime. 2017 was the recipient of the Young Enterprise Entrepreneur of the Year award. A couple of weeks ago was awarded with the Agent of Change award. So with all that being said, like I said, do not allow people's negative thoughts verbalize, construct, and mold your reality. You are powerful, you are great, you are innovators. All right, everyone understand that? All right, so now, in life, I do understand that we may get sidetracked there. Everyone has goals. How many of you guys have goals? Yeah? Including everyone. Cool bars, all right? Yeah, because everyone's here, all right? Now, do not let anybody steer you away or distract you from your goals. I say this to say you have to be selfish for yourself so you can better your life and in the lives of others, all right? Now, living on Darrow's Island, I'm going back to telling a little story. Living on Darrow's Island, we travel via boat, okay? Now I realized every time, now there's certain elements that you can't control. Elements such as the water, the sea's current direction, as well as the wind's direction, all right? You can't control that. But what you can control is your vision, your sight, seeing where you want to go, all right? Now I realize when I'm just on a boat, you know, I'm like 10 or something, I'm just cruising. The second I go down and I pick up a little chicken wing or something from KFC, I notice, okay, the direction has changed. I now need to refocus on my destination so I can get to it. All right, so when you come up against certain obstacles in life, don't just throw in the towel and say, you know what, all right, man, this ain't for me, it's whatever, I'm going to kick it out, goodbye, check you later. No, simply get back your sights, pivot, and make it happen, all right? I want to say this. Do not ever allow someone to say, oh, you're too young to have an idea or have a voice, have an opinion. Because they're talking complete, utter rubbish. Is that simple? Complete, utter rubbish. They say, hey, man, you don't know what you're talking about, but you're just a youngin', but sit to the side. respectfully, it's rubbish. All right? If Ryan, which is a great initiative, took that same mentality and said, threw my hands up in the air and said, you know what? I'm too young right now. I'm going to start future leaders when I'm 35. Would any of you guys be sitting here today? None. So really think about that. Yes, you guys are called future leaders, and congratulations on being inducted as future leaders in the ceremony that's going to be taking place. But do not think that being a future leader is 10 years, 20 years down the road. Yesterday was the past, today is the present, tomorrow is the future. You guys are the leaders of tomorrow. And with what I just saw, even though I'm not too far apart in age from you guys, I'm extremely excited and relieved. All right? So with all that being said, remember, you guys are powerful individuals, extremely great beings, intelligent, and good in whatever you do, all right? So keep that mindset, and you guys will be smooth sailing, all right? Didn't want to take up too much of you guys' time, but thank you very much. Congratulations, all right, guys?
Thank you very much to Mr. Syrie Bean for that presentation. I hope you all took in what he said and you apply it today, tomorrow, and forever after that. We're now going to move on to the presentation of certificates. So, when this program first started, it was just a summer camp. And you did your 3 weeks, you studied what you had to study, and you were always a future leader, and you finished, and everybody went home. What we found over the past 3 years, considering this is now our third group, is that it really doesn't end here. You heard the message from Mackenzie earlier, right? The voice note, remember? This is only the beginning. And so, whereas in the past we'd call this a closing ceremony, now it's an induction ceremony. What do I mean by that? Well, this isn't the end, really. It's just the beginning. You have a whole family, a whole village of people here to support you. You are equipped and empowered to go out and change the world, whether that's your world or somebody else's world or the entire world as a whole. Whatever you see as an issue is for you to take up. And you consider Syrie's words, don't let anybody stop you, because you now have the knowledge and the information you need to make a difference. And so when we call this an induction ceremony, that's exactly what it is, because you guys from today are inducted as future leaders. And I want you to take that information, I want you to share it with your peers, and we will continue to build. And so as opportunities arise throughout the rest of the year, and as you leave this building and go on to do whatever it is you're going to do for the rest of summer and the rest of the year, I always want you to keep that in mind, that you are always you always have the power to make a difference, okay? And so without further ado, we're going to have Mr. Burchell, Junior Burchell, along with my other teacher here, Ms. Tanisha Key Holmes, come and hand out these certificates, all right? Moria Bridgewater. Vincent Darrell. Yaiwan Darrell, Vincent's brother. Congratulations. No, come stand up. Who's next? You can just hand it to me so that I know who's next. That's all. Austin Dowling. Ryan Fleming. Zayaja Forbes. Shazaria Francis Brown. Nathan Farbert. My eyes just itching, I'm not crying. Maya Farbert Jacobs. Ukiah Hall. Alea Hayward. Najee Hippolyte. Ronia Jones. All right, congratulations. Chloe Morton. Congratulations, you did it. Kanye Rayna Simmons. Ajani Richardson. Giannis Roberts. So proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Malay Robinson. All right, Malay. Rio Russell. Cairo Simmons. Vashti Smith. Congratulations. Sakai Tatum. And finally, Madison Thompson. So Key Holmes and I were talking because Junior is one of our new teachers because we had such a big group this year. And Miss Key Holmes was with us last year. And we were talking about you guys and how we felt this year a very special level of attachment. And I'm not saying that to be cheesy, but we really did feel attached to you guys this year. And we have multiple things running at the same time now because last year's group of future leaders are actually in Atlanta right now studying at for a 3-week program at Brandon Hall International Boarding School. That's just an example of some of the opportunities that come once you're inducted as a future leader. So there was a point in time when Ms. Key Holmes had gone up to take those kids up, and Junior was out sick, and it was just me with all 23 of you. You remember that? And we had a bit of a rough day. You remember? And I rinsed you guys at the end. You remember that? That was exactly halfway at the midway point of the program. And I yelled at them, and I made them write in the journals for extra 20 minutes, and then I let them go home and told them, try again tomorrow. But I went home, and I reflected on that, and a quote came to me, which I ended up sending to you. And it said, if those children are unresponsive today, maybe you can't teach them yet, but you can love them. And if you love them today, maybe you can teach them tomorrow. And I had to think about it, and I had to rely on this quote because I realized that particularly with this group, and I think it may just be a generational thing, but our young people are really going through so much right now. And the difference with this group compared to the other two groups was that this group, as opposed to looking at the academic and the theoretical parts of our curriculum, which is over 200 pages long, this group was really living a lot of the things that we were talking about. And so a lot of the academic stuff they weren't as interested in because they were living and going through the sorts of situations that we were talking about. And so I have to recognize that in some ways, our young people today have it better than past generations. But in other ways, there are simply pressures and factors which they deal with today that we just didn't have to deal with 10 and 15 years ago. The internet and social media is just one example of that. But there was one point in the program where one of the students joked to another that all of their cousins were dead due to gun violence. And another moment at lunchtime where I overheard some of the students talking about some of the situations they live in at home. And it just made me realize that I have so much respect for you guys, honestly. I won't forget some of the moments when some of you pulled me aside and shared some of your most personal thoughts with me. I appreciate it. You made me feel like a big brother. We're going to get through it. And at the end of the program, our very last field experience, these 23 students went to Cabinet Office and questioned the Premier and the Minister of Education and MP Tanae Ferbert, who joined us for the session. And to see you guys' growth, you're better readers, you're better thinkers, you're better speakers. And one of the last questions that was asked was one of the future leaders questioned the Minister of Education because one of his own classmates had committed suicide this year. And it just really made me think back to when you guys first came into this program and how you were scared to begin things, how you didn't want to come, and how shy and insecure a lot of you were. And to see that growth within 3 weeks, considering the types of things you had to deal with every day and still come and show up voluntarily throughout this program. And then to see you guys give a perfect presentation. We just couldn't be more grateful to be a part of this experience with you and to even make a dent in some of your trajectories. And so we just want to say that we're proud of you, we love you, and we're grateful for having this experience with you. So thank you to Ms. Key Holmes. And thank you to Junior. We honestly have so much respect for you guys, and we can't wait to see where you go from here. So thank you all for joining us. Before we finish, we'll get a group picture, but I just have some people I'd like to thank. This couldn't have happened without financial support, as well as emotional support, and the mentors who sort of dropped everything to come and speak to you guys throughout these 3 weeks. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank Premier David Barrett and the government of Bermuda for supporting this program. As well as President Chris Ferbert of the Bermuda Industrial Union for supporting. And finally, all of the community mentors and organizations who came in and contributed towards you all's progress through this program. Starting with Mr. Aaron Hill, who dropped everything on Monday when one of our speakers canceled. I went and picked him up from work, took him to his house to change his clothes. He dropped everything at his job to come and just talk and spend some time with you guys for an hour. Thank you very much for that. We won't forget it. The Salvation Army for allowing you guys to come in and work in their thrift store and at the food bank and at the homeless shelter. Mr. Kadal Riley of Citizens Uprooting Racism in Bermuda for coming and giving a presentation on racial justice. Senior Magistrate Warren Wolf and the Department of Court Services for allowing you to come and sit in on drug treatment court. And here's some inspiring messages from some of the clients and inmates who were participating in that program. Ms. Lorna McGowan of Cranley Limited for coming and doing a workshop on communication skills. Mr. Eugene Johnston, who came and spoke to you and I know completely challenged everything you've ever thought about in life before. I think it was Zayasia wrote 8 pages in her journal right after he spoke, and I know that we were all blown away by that. In addition, we'd like to thank the United States Consulate for allowing us to come and have lunch with the U.S. Consul General, as well as the Premier, MP Tanae Ferbert, and the Minister of Education for facilitating a question and answer session period. And finally, Aris Sports Center for allowing you to come and do some team building and self-defense workshops. That was a great bonding moment for all of you. And everyone else who's played a role in supporting this program. We truly are grateful and we'd like to thank you. Of course, Mr. Syrie Bean for coming and speaking to the kids today. We really appreciate that. So once again, thank you to everyone who's participated. We're going to take a group picture and then you're welcome to all stay around, eat. Junior, Ms. Key Holmes and I will come and we can give individual feedback to some of the students and some of the parents. Like I said, we can't wait to see you develop from here. Our quote for this year and our theme was by Thomas Sankara, which was "Dare to invent the future." And I have no doubt that you guys, with your bravery and your courage and your go-get-it attitude and your press-on attitude, regardless of the circumstances, we have every faith that you'll live up to that theme. So thanks again. Thank you, everybody.
Before we go into taking pictures and everything, I'd just like to say to all 3 of you that this has been an amazing 3 weeks. And while at first when I came, I felt that I wasn't comfortable. I'd never been in one of these sessions before. I'd never done anything like this before. And as it progressed, along with you guys' mentorship, I began to see that while I had a lot of ideas that worked out in the planning, they may not work out in the real world. And that helped open my eyes to see that not everything is black and white. And I've learned so much during this program. I'd just like to thank all 3 of you for that. On behalf of the future leaders, I'd like to thank Mr. Ryan Robinson, Ms. Key Holmes, and Mr. Birchall for spending your time with us. Because when I first came in, I was like, oh, this is a waste of my summer break. But as I kept coming, I learned a lot that I didn't know, and I learned a lot about my community, and I'm thankful and I'm sad to leave because you guys have really helped to scope who I am now, as I feel I'm a different person than from when I came in. So I'd just like to thank you guys for your time.
So once again, I'd like to thank everybody. Thank you, Dennis from Bermuda, for coming every year to record it. Thank you to MP Chris Famous and all the other dignitaries. Mr. Famous comes every year. And thanks, we hope to see you all again next year as well. Once again, thank you, everybody. Feel free to eat. And students, come forward and let's get a group picture.